Welcome to week one of History 230, Social Studies for Elementary Education. I want to begin by asking you a series of questions and thinking critically about our class for the week. Something that I like to ask with the start of any of my classes is the question of why do we even study social studies and history? Why do we even study these kinds of things? We see in a lot of districts that the way that social studies is being taught is less siloed and more ingrained or thematic across different areas. You know, it's ingrained into the reading and it's incorporated into different subjects. And so I guess the question is then, why social studies, why history? We're going to start this class treating it like a history class, starting in the ancient world, trying to give you a high-level summary of the Western civilization all the way up through American history, and then into some of the social studies areas like geography, economics, that kind of thing. So the question I want to begin with is, why study history? Why take the time to take an entire semester to learn from me and Donna about world history, American history, and other social studies topics? Why do we do this? What is the value in studying history? Maybe for some of you, you're thinking there's not. And that is a very common held opinion of history. And I think that opinion comes from a misunderstanding of what history is and what history isn't. My wife is a nurse. She is a science person through and through. She loves math. She loves science. She's a nurse. She teaches nursing, and she does not like my content areas. She doesn't like history and social studies. It's not her area, and I think she exemplifies a person who maybe misunderstands a little bit what it is that I do when I study social studies or when I teach history. So the question is, why history? Or, put another way, what is the point of studying history? What is the point of learning about a bunch of dead people in history? I think the misconception then comes from is that people oftentimes view history as simply studying a list of names, dates, and events that happened. And that is traditionally how history has been taught, and that is traditionally how history is portrayed. It's very black and white. But that's the problem, in that that's not true. Studying history is not the process of simply memorizing, a bunch of names and dates in this course text. That's not really the point. The point of studying history is to determine the why events happened, and more importantly, once we understand why something happened, what is the implications and the meaning of that event through today. Because I think if we can begin to understand the why, we can begin to see the connection. And when we see the connection to today, it begins to make history more of a story. So the study of history is less about names, dates, facts, and more about understanding why. And the way we understand why is through historical inquiry. Historical inquiry is the process of going to different sources, of hearing different sides of the story and determining for yourself what happened and why it happened. That's what historical inquiry is. And that's what I would like history to be for you. That's what I hope this class does. This book gives you a very black and white, here's some stuff that happened. And I'm going to quiz you on this, because in order to pass the praxis, you kind of got to know some stuff. And that's where this text comes in, very black and white. But I'm also going to present to you a different side of history. I'm going to present to you a different side of the story, in that Zinn decides to portray American history in a very different way. Some might say he's a revisionist. Some might say he's radical. Some might even call him a communist. He's been labeled a communist. But what he does is he takes the unknown stories from American history and tries to get you to maybe think about why the events happened in American history, and what we think caused them might not actually be what caused them. Or maybe there's a different way to interpret the events that have happened in American history. So the question is, why study history? Then the question becomes, what is the point? Why did it happen? And then most important, what are the implications for today of looking at some of these different events in history? I hope you get a chance to engage with the texts. You can start this week. I know readings don't necessarily start until week 2, but I would encourage you to take a look at some of these and begin to ask yourself, why am I taking this class? And it's because I'm required to. Why do we study history? What's the point? What's the value? And can we see some connection to today? Have a good week, everybody.